So welcome, David. Great to see you.
Nice to see you too, John. Thanks for having me.
Of course, I'm John Piccone, Regional President of Adform for the Americas, and I'm joined by David Fischer, President of North America for Captify. Super jazzed to have this opportunity to sit in our cafe together and talk about what's good out in the marketplace and where we think it's going to go. Tell us a little bit about Captify. Tell us what you do.
Yeah, absolutely. And thanks so much for having me on. Captify really is a global data and advertising company. It was founded 12 years ago in the UK, and we've been in the US for about 6 years. We help brands access, understand, and activate consumer search intent on any device or channel. We have a data partner network of about 6 million different websites. We see over 1 billion on-site search events per day. The search data that we see is really the most powerful indicator of consumer intent we believe that there is in the market. And we deliver what we call search intelligence to our clients, and it helps them more effectively plan, activate, and measure their media investments.
Am I right in I read that you're the largest independent holder of search data after Google? Is that right?
We are. Outside of the walled gardens, we do hold the largest amount of on-site search data in the world, and the depth and breadth of that data is incredible. Our search volume that we do have access to is about 1/3 of the size of Google. So there's a whole world of search that happens out in the open web on publisher websites through little search boxes that appear on those websites, on retailers on their websites. And we just work to capture that data, make sense of that data, and make it actionable for marketers and agencies to better understand consumers and therefore reach them with the relevant message at the right time.
Got it. So let's break it down into how an advertiser use case. Like, I walk into your store and you say, "This is how I can help you." What do they say? "That's right. That was awesome. You did help me with that." What would they be saying?
Yeah, for the most part, most advertisers and marketers, they know a little bit about their customers. They believe that they know and understand what's happening in their world, and they believe that they know what's happening with consumers. But the reality is that the signals that they have access to are quite limited once they leave. After they make a purchase and things of that nature, all they understand is what they've done when they're either on their website or they enter their store. They don't understand that consumers are real people. And they have real lives outside of.
They're not users, they're people.
Yes, right, that transaction that occurs at that moment. And they leave that store, that virtual store, that online store, and they spend a life with family and friends. They have moments that matter to them. They have interests. They have other things that matter in their lives. And what we do is we use search as a signal to help understand just exactly where a consumer is and what their mindset is. And then we surface that in a number of different ways, either through insights and analytics for an intelligence for marketers and agencies, or in the form of audiences. And those audiences can then be activated on the open web, and you can target those individuals. We've just found that this sort of intelligence that we can provide is really valuable, and the market has really reacted to that very well over the last 12 years we've been in business.
So in the spirit of targeting, are you relying on cookies, or you got a mousetrap where you don't need them? How's that all working out?
Yeah, it's really interesting. Our business has never been reliant on cookies to actually activate. We're actually thrilled that cookies will be going away, and that there's clarity in that, right? So being a privacy-first company, which we are because we're a European company that started in London, and so obviously we've had privacy, at the forefront of everything that we've done from our inception. So we have a deep history of being a privacy sort of led company. Which has really happened to be helpful to us along the way. So we never had a reliance on third-party cookies, given our partnerships and our integrations with publishing partners and our data network. Third-party cookies happens to be the transaction currency of the internet with regard to activation. So we supported that because that's what the markets wanted up until now, really. We capture first-party data search data with our partners and those signals. We've done that since our inception. We understand the content on the page of that search as well. And that really gives us such an unmatched understanding of consumer mindset and moments and things that matter to them, all without third-party cookies. With that in mind, we launched our cookieless solution as the market started to trend and change about 18 months ago. And we actually were a little bit ahead of the market. We did a full marketing push. We did all of our client evangelizing, all that work then. And then things got to kind of slow down when Google kind of reset on third-party cookie deprecation. Our solution, which we tend to call search-powered contextual, gives the best of both worlds, right? The search signals we get from our direct relationships with our partners, combined with our understanding of the content on pages that are residing in our network, allows us to model out a wonderful open web solution of relevant pages that fit the profiles of what your customer may look like and what you're trying to do. And we found that our cookie solution right now is it's more than half of all of the media that our clients are running with us right now, and it's growing every single month. So the transition to cookieless for our clients is a little bit more challenging than it is in terms of from our ability to deliver that. We're here, we have a system in place, it's growing. By the time cookies get deprecated, all of our clients will be transitioned over and taking advantage of all the benefits that come with that, as well as dealing with all the challenges that come from a measurement perspective.
I love the term search-powered contextual, because in those two things, we think about contextual as this notion of branding just by default. Maybe that's me who thinks that way. But then you got search, which is also, people are like, oh, that's bottom of the funnel stuff. So when you bring those two things together, does it get lost inside the funnel? Does it rattle around? Does it land somewhere? How does a marketer think about when to bring this in?
It actually has been resonating very well with marketers. What we've done the last couple of years is help educate the market about what the value of search data really is. If you look back, and to your point, the first thing
that's targeting, right? Instead of just clicking on a keyword search result, right?
Right, and you also think that search data, the way you mentioned before, lower funnel, right?
Yeah.
The reality is that no one ever lies to their search bar, right? So you're constantly telling the truth when you're doing a keyword search, which can be terrifying. However, it is such a wonderful look into the spirit and the mindset of where consumers are, and allows you to meet them where they're at. What I've done the last 4 years is try to help marketers and agencies understand the full depth and breadth and power of search data to understand consumers. That means brand, interest, intent, all the way down the funnel. And so we've really seen clients lean into that concept. And when you combine that with the power of contextual advertising and the relevancy of page content, just a no-brainer that these two signals in combination are going to help you better understand who to target and get better results from that media investment.
Right, because you guys have everything from retail search queries to somebody planning a wedding.
100%.
Right? Totally, and picking out a gown. So that's a totally different ends of the spectrum, but you can bring them together. That's
absolutely. And a great example would be, if we have within our data network, we're seeing a high volume of searches for Paris Hilton, and I use this example all the time. Well, that's great. Is it someone that's interested in the celebrity Paris Hilton, or is it somebody that is traveling to Paris and wants to stay at a Hilton hotel? Those fall vastly different audiences, right? So how do you make sense of that and make it intelligent, and then use that to help advertisers really reach their consumers and meet them where they're at?
So you've done a bunch of cool stuff in your past. You've worked for DoubleClick, and at some point you worked for Nielsen. What have you brought from those learnings from the past to Captify, or what are you leveraging from that?
Yeah, I think that there's a couple. It's a great question. There's, as you know, been around this industry for a long time. It's a giant whirlwind. It's just a constant journey and adventure of ups and downs and things of that nature. I've been fortunate to be part of a lot of different companies that were at the forefront or creating new solutions in market, or at the beginning of different parts of this industry. So when I was at DoubleClick, I was there as part of that business acquisition where Google had acquired that business, and watched the whole entire business sort of embed into what became programmatic advertising, and the creation of that through DoubleClick, right? From that perspective, which is a magical time. And so I've seen sort of bigger companies like that, and then gone on to do things in the data space, and sort of been part of the original third-party data world at a company called Excelate that was acquired by Nielsen. and I ran the commercial side of that business for about 4 years. So I've kind of seen many different things over the last 10 years or 15 years around the use of data in particular. And I've seen what to do and what not to do commercially, and also from a consumer mindset that's really aided me when I came over to Captify about 4 years ago. I just thought it was a super interesting company with a really, really unique data set, and being the data skeptic that I am, because I've been in it so long, it's really difficult to find something that's really interesting from a data perspective. And search data is super interesting. It always has been. Google's has a multi-billion-dollar business off the back of search data, and candidly off of contextual video relevancy with YouTube. So if you think about,
and off of everybody else's content that
off of everybody's content. So to me, the opportunity to come here and to take the best learnings that we've had previously and to shape what I feel is a data company 2.0 was a great, exciting opportunity for me. I didn't want to make the same mistakes that we've seen at other companies, or I didn't want to replicate the idea of commoditizing data by that third-party data companies had done previously, and realized that Captify had an opportunity to create more value in a different way. And we've been on that journey.
And what's so cool about the search data is it's always fresh.
Always.
Right? It's just you can't even call it a commodity because the trends and the nuances that are coming out of it. And so for brands that want to stay with that fresh topical targeting of what's happening, I imagine, real-time programmatic is a killer play. I mean, that's what I'm psyched about our partnership, so we can actually leverage that for being more topical on what's happening in the game today. So that's got to be interesting, that piece.
That piece is, I mean, from an advertiser or a marketing perspective, it's super compelling, right?
Yeah.
If you think about it, if you put yourself in the marketer's shoes, they have access to tons of data, right? And they have no way to make sense of that data. It's difficult to know where to focus your time on and what's really relevant. From an advertising and investment perspective, that's what makes programmatic so interesting. You can invest in programmatic. You can dynamically shift where your budgets go in real time, pull in and out of certain channels, do whatever you need to do to optimize. I think from a data perspective, it's really important to have data that can meet that pace of change in order to provide you the kind of intelligence you need to make informed, effective decisions. So search data is one of the only data assets that has that real-time aspect. And
it's amazing.
Fortunately, you guys are going to have access to, and we have the ability to provide data that's refreshed at scale every 5 minutes.
Yeah, it's amazing. It's totally amazing. So where do you think the puck's going with all the data and the compliance that we're seeing? We've seen a couple of states starting to enact some rules. A bunch of stuff went live in July. You think it's going to stick? You think people are going to start to, not we as consumers, but the folks that, we don't want attorney generals knocking on doors. Both of us come from European companies, right? Adform's based in Denmark, so we've been GDPR compliant since the get-go, right? So we feel like we got a little bit of a leg up. But what do you think is the best way to get brands engaged? Is it somebody's got to do a perp walk? Is it some lawsuit happens? I mean, what's going to happen there?
Yeah, I think from a brand perspective, there's been so much inertia.
Yeah.
And I think that inertia, in terms of moving to an understanding what a post-cookie world looks like for their own protection, and and I think from an ad tech ecosystem perspective, a lot of companies like ourselves have been knocking on doors, just be like, hello, advertisers, like, you need to be doing this.
It's happening.
It's happening.
Yeah.
I think that the compelling event, and it's not even there yet. I think we get to Q1 and everybody starts to wake up a little bit more as it relates to Google's timelines and what that really
sandbox.
Yeah, I think that it starts to become real there. But I think from my standpoint, and I'm sure that you've seen the same thing, there are still metrics in place that are about, return on investment and lower funnel metrics and providing attribution back to the sale, very DR focused stuff that does happen. And I think that's the challenge for marketers at the moment, is that it's been highly quantifiable. Not that it has been accurate, but you can quantify it, right? And maybe attribution hasn't been correct in terms of multi-touch attribution, but there was always something that they can point to and say, I invested in this, and this is what I got as a return. and that world is completely going upside down. So I think that that's the compelling event that will force marketers to start to think more brand and the value of brand and the science behind brand investments and how that can provide ROI, but all the way through to, hey, how do we measure things differently? And can you help us partners to do that?
Yeah.
We're seeing clients.
Sorry.
I'm just seeing clients start to lean in with those conversations more. The conversations we're having now, like, we wanted to talk to you about this 6 months ago.
Yeah.
And now you're finally ready to start talking a little bit about it. So slowly but surely, we're getting there.
That's good. And when the measurement gets better, people are going to be able to take more risk, which I'm excited by, because then the sellers can start selling on business outcomes if the brands allow them to, because then you have to share a little bit more data. So like this notion of, well, if I lean in a little bit more, am I going to get a better return? But then it's going to require a little bit of sharing information. So I think you can't let the cat out of the bag or house or barn somewhere, but it's really cool the way that it's moving. It's never stands still. It's the best part about ad tech. It never stands still. It's awesome.
Yeah, and I also think that to your point, I think that first party data, client first party data, and those clients that those marketers that have been taking the time to develop the systems, the infrastructure, and bring in the expertise, the people in-house over the last few years to build first party data ecosystems in their business and a culture around first party data are best positioned to take advantage of these opportunities and move quickly moving forward. We've just found that our clients that have first party data, a significant amount of first party data, that work with us to find customers that have more intelligence about that first party data, and then want to either target those customers in the open web or find other people that look like that with those attributes. They've seen tremendous results, right? So it's the clients that don't have relationships with crosswalks, build the infrastructure. They got to do all that work, and it's just tough. It's not easy. It takes a long time.
Yeah, when you think about so much of the money that's being spent are people that can't get to that first party data, and how much they've relied on mass awareness vehicles that are declining in their reach and scale. It's tough to be a brand marketer these days, because how do you start to get to that top awareness where the cost of media starts to really decrease? Because like talk about TV, right? I mean, there's so much spill. The spill is free, right? And that's reach. And so it's really tough. These marketers got a lot in their hands. And the other piece is that, you know, playing the marketer violin a little bit, but I think quite well, is the fact that everybody comes to them with point solutions, and they treat them as if they're system integrators. And that's also a tough position to be in, right? Because they do have to bring all these things together, and that takes time. So they have to weigh, well, how much is it going to take me to integrate versus how much is it going to take me to actually get the return on investment? So the mathematical formula of measurement isn't just on media. It's all the resources and all the time spent, total cost of ownership. Fascinating. It's really fascinating.
And not to mention the fact that even if you look at some of the biggest channels for brand advertisers, obviously linear television is dramatically shifting, and the pace of change of this moving towards obviously to streaming and CTV and linear addressable television and data-driven linear, and all that world, to understand those changes, and obviously the measurement challenges associated with alternate currencies. You know, it's a lot to take in, and that's just on one channel. That's really important. So it's really tough.
It's cool. Really tough. Cool.
Yeah.
Well, obviously we could talk about this for days, but I want to talk about something that's much, much more important. What is your favorite movie?
My favorite movie?
Yeah.
This is going to be amazing. So I can't believe I'm telling you my favorite movie, because most people cringe at this. My favorite movie is Point Break.
Point Break. I know that movie.
Keanu Reeves, and he is an undercover FBI agent, and it's a story about a bunch of surfer bank robbers, and they are running around robbing banks so they can surf, and he becomes one of them ultimately to get in. He goes undercover. And they're called the Dead Presidents, and they all wear president masks. For some reason, I can't tell you why. It's an old movie. It's from like the 80s, but I can't.
I was going to say, yeah, that's a movie.
This is an old movie, but it is one of my favorites for sure. Awesome. Yeah, It's an amazing movie. I highly recommend it.
All right. It's on the list. It's going into the queue.
Yeah. The other one, if you're asking about movies, would be American History X, if you've ever seen that. Which is the way that movie is filmed is fabulous. It's one of my favorites.
Amazing.
What about you?
Oh, I was afraid you were going to ask. Well, for anybody that's seen this before, I already listed it before. It's the original Willy Wonka, because it's just magical, right? I mean, I just think it's a place where you can go and escape. And I'm a sucker for that stuff.
Very true. Very true.
And Gene Wilder, you can't beat Gene Wilder.
Yes. Well, I mean, I would say that these are all excellent choices.
Yes. Yes. Shall we go and search for them and see what we can get?
We do. I can tell you we're incredibly excited to partner with you guys.
Yeah, likewise.
We're really looking forward to leaning in and helping support you guys, and as you look to support and provide differentiated solutions to your clients. And I know we'll continue to evolve this partnership and grow and do all the things we need to do. But I'm deeply committed to making sure that our teams work closely together and we have something unique that you can bring to market.
Yeah. Likewise. Thanks for finding the time. I really appreciate it.
Appreciate it. Take care.